Well, good morning and welcome to Doppler's Gear Garage. Let me make sure I've got vocal levels. Yes, we do. Have we got a show for you? Let me get my comments up and running. Griffin Gaines, top of the morning to you. Hello. Chris Alexander, always a pleasure. It is a loud room. So I've been playing, first of all, let me greet a few people. Good morning, Albert. It is time for the wake-up call. Jim, simmer down there, Van Doppler. That's Van Nugent or something there. Awesome. Thanks, my friend. Sonny, what's happening? Top of the morning to you, my fellow 925 participant. Stevie Ray. Eric Vaughn. Good morning, my friend. Do me a favor. I need your address. I need to send you something, my friend. Yes, you were here in the stadium. All right, sorry. Gordon Nelson, what's going on, Gord? This is what happens when I spend a couple of days playing nothing but rhythm guitar. The inner shredder wants to come out. All right, first of all, in case we haven't met, my name is Doug. Welcome to Doppler's Gear Garage. Have we got a show for you? I spend part of my time down in the comments here answering your questions. The other thing is that we also spend some time talking about gear. I am surrounded by, ironically, I'm not playing through it at the moment. Actually, the funny thing is the noise police, also known as Melissa Doppler, shut me down last night at about 10:30. So one of the things that I'm going to be getting up and running here that you guys will be able to be part of is something for those of you, Eric, you and I have had this conversation about how do you actually create some isolation for your amps and cabinets if you want to actually play through amps and cabinets at home and record them. So over yonder, I wonder if I can bring this photo in. It's going to be a terrible photo, but hang on a second. I sent this over to my buddy Trent. There we go. But I have an isolation booth, and basically I've got it set up in such a way that I can pull the door off, and in so doing, I can monitor with a cabinet basically on axis with me, which is actually a really big deal because that way you're not pointing it towards your feet or something like that. So let me find this photo here. All right, this is not the greatest photo, but I should be able to drag and drop it. There we go. So there is said ISO cab there with a few other things in the side ground. So that literally is my view from my desk here. Go away. Bye-bye. All right. So the thing is that when the door is off, because there's a door that fits in there, kind of fits into the hole that's on the front there. That allows me to, again, have that cabinet facing me on axis. And then in turn, let's see if I can do this without breaking anything. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to Dynamount. There we go. So here you're looking at, they're not connected right at the moment because I did a restart. But Jim Seaval, what's going on, my man? You just hang on a second. Let me get rid of this thing for just a moment. Let's go back over to this thing. I want to look you in the eye. Great to see you, my friend. Please give our regards to Shelley. A quick aside, and then we're going to jump right back into it. Jim Seaval is the founder and proprietor of Scumbag Speakers, some of the finest speakers on the planet. And Jim used to live in SoCal, and I would crash on his floor of his studio during the NAMM show. So Jim and I are dear friends, and it's always a pleasure. Great to see you, my friend. All right, all right, all right. He also is a fine vintage Marshall amp and cabinet collector. Awesome. Rick, what's going on, my man? All my good old friends and young friends showing up. Noise police. There we go. Officer. No, literally. Hang on a second. This is pretty hilarious. I usually won't try and do this, but here we go. Let's see if I can pull this. You probably won't be able to read this. No, you won't. I can hear that in the bedroom. That's, by the way, on the opposite side of the house with the door closed and the TV on. Yes! I know the ISO booth is good, but it must still be pretty loud. Yes, it was. It's too loud for this time of night. Busted. In any case, it was good while it lasted. Paul, good morning to you, my friend. Sonia, hello, hello, hello. There we go. Love my scumbag M75. Fabulous speakers. All right, Danny Douglas, hello, hello, hello. All right. All right, so here's the deal. I keep fogging up my glasses. So what we've got here, we're going to talk about gear a little bit, and then we have a kind of a little blues-based kind of hybrid picking. Then we're going to go. If I don't get too carried away. Find the tonic there, Mr. Doppler. Okay, so the deal is there are four, well, actually, no, there's 3 triple recs and 1 90s dual rec. And so these are kind of on loan from my buddy Steve. This is a Rev F up there at the top. That's a Rev G. That's the new 90s triple rec reissue, and that is the new-ish 80s dual rec, 90s dual rec reissue. And so I'm in the process of working on this video for these guys. And I've been doing something that I normally wouldn't do. I listen to comments. And first of all, one of the best things about, regardless of how much or how little content you create, is the feedback you get, good, bad, or in between. I'm seeing lots of comments. I'm making the need to jump in just a second. Is often very insightful. And sometimes the people that have the least amount of tact also bring the amount of truth. The people who kind of are fanish of what you do, I call it fanily, because that's the way I feel about the people that I'm privileged enough to kind of hang out with and share my music with. But the people that are more inclined to, quote unquote, follow you in the whatever the F word means, those folks will quite often hear the things that they like about it, and sometimes maybe not say the things that you're like, you could do that. And, let's say you're friendly with somebody, you don't show up at dinner, you go, your breath is bad, and man, that haircut's really bad. You usually go, hey, nice to see you. Looking sharp, as always. That haircut sucks, holy cow. They're just things that we don't say to each other. And so sometimes the people in their trollish nature actually say some things that are really, really interesting. So one of the comments that I got on a recent post around the boogie stuff was there wasn't enough low end. And so, if we're crafting guitars in a mix, which is part of the conversation we're going to have as an ongoing basis for those of us that are recording or those of us that think about recording, is basically your guitar sits here, your bass sits here, and then the kick drum sits around here. What you want to avoid is masking, such as your guitar and the bass player, the bottom end of your frequencies aren't fighting it out with the bass, and you've got clarity, again, between the guitar, the lower parts of the guitar, and the bass. So there's clarity with the bass. And in turn, the bass sits just above the kind of the main attack, the main heart of the bass, sits above the kick drum, which generally, if I'm looking for a place to bump the bass up in the mix, 80 hertz is going to be the place that I have a tendency to go in standard tuning. Then the kick drum kind of lives 60 hertz-ish. That's not to say the attack of the beater, which is the other thing that you want to get that lives somewhere between, as I recall, the 2 and the 4K. I'd say the 1 and the 4K range, just to get that little attack of the beater so you don't hear the boom, you hear the clack of the beater against the head, because that's really important. You get that transient, or my favorite word. But the point being is that, there are a number of the boogie brethren that actually, they don't care about recording. They want to make their amp sound as big and as mean as possible in the room. And I kind of went, you know what? I feel that. Not only that, they also use a variety of drive boxes into the front end of their boogies, which is something that I would not normally do. But I decided, you know what? Let me actually, instead of just like, pontificating, let me actually get a little humble about it and try some stuff. So there you have, although you're not hearing it right now, I'll probably have it fired up into something next week. The little that is the SD1. That's kind of like the most basic pedal, and I got so excited about it because Fluff recommended it, and there was another guy, Martin Stoles, that's a friend of mine for many years, and they both, Martin was like, "That's the only pedal I use," and I was like, "Fine." So I went and took some pedals I had and traded them at the Guitar Center. But I also wanted to go through, for those of you that are boogie guys, some of my pedals that I would suggest trying to put in the front end. An OD 808 overdrive, you can't go wrong there. And basically you turn the gain all the way down, the volume or level or whatever you want to call it, whatever pedal, all the way up. And you put the tone control generally at about 1 o'clock seems to be the place to go. That's not what we're going to be going for here. In the midst of my collection, I knew that I had this. Anytime you see something that's about this color green, Dunlop has this pedal. What do you call it? The GTOD. Sounds great. Again, about the same thing. No drive, all volume all the way up, and then the tone to taste, but generally about 1 o'clock. And there's another guy around here, the Mud Dog. Where's the Mud? There we go. So, the Mud Buster. The Mud Killer. So, and again, this is a more sophisticated device, but and it also has a little foot switch thing that you can set up such that when you turn this on, it'll actually switch channels on your amplifier. So if you got the clean channel, you don't want this guy in, then when you go for your over the top, it'll change channels on the amp for you. That's a pretty darn cool pedal. So I really had a lot of fun with those. So, the idea of shaping those amps, and, just as a bit of a purist, I generally like to go into the front end of an amplifier when and where possible, with the exception of maybe a small pedal board, because the idea of that, hey, let me get the sound of the amplifier. However, I must admit, after plugging in a bunch of these pedals, I'm kind of loving this. So all I'm saying is that when it comes to your gear and the way you use it, it's awesome. But all of us, we kind of, especially the older we get, as they would say, a longer in the tooth because your gums start to recede. Awkward. If we're not careful, our method actually keeps us from getting something better. And so the fun that I had with it's kind of like the dumbest pedal that I ever got. I don't think I've ever been more excited about getting a stupid pedal, but gosh darn does it sound great into the front end of that. And gosh darn it, I've got mics set up, so I guess I'm not going to threaten. And you'll actually be able to hear the rumble from the ISO booth. All right, let me jump in here and get caught up. Okay. I have not tried the NAMM player yet, and so there is a bunch of, what is wrong with these glasses? There's a bunch of stuff that's newer and cooler that I have yet to do. So I have not, Sonia. How are you doing, by the way? Great to see you, although afar. Hans, how are you? Did you make any mods to the V to make it more comfortable to play when sitting? So the funny thing is, this is one of the more interesting things that many people actually, first of all, if you put a V like this, and you're a right leg player, practicer, it's the wrong guitar for you. Let's just put it there. But if you are a left leg practicer, look, Ma, no hands. So this is the most comfortable instrument. If I want to bring the neck up or I want to bring it down, if I want to bring the guitar a little closer into my body, or I can, with this little bit of business, take a look at how I can kind of adjust the neck there like that. So it is so incredibly comfortable when sitting down. that. That's pretty darn good. The sound, that is. All right, so the deal is, it's so comfortable, you know, being able to sit there and have the instrument support itself. It's really my favorite guitar shape all around for just a range of reasons. Good. Working on the next product in CAD window. Awesome. Can't wait to see and hear it. What's going on, Kingfisher? Hang on a second. Gosh darn it, I love playing guitar. All right, I am just steaming my glasses this morning. Holy cow. All right, let's see if I can read some English here. There we go. All right, good morning again. Brenton, hey mate, playing festival this weekend, day 3 of gigs tomorrow. Congratulations, Brenton. By the way, Brenton Meinl, great player, buddy of mine from Australia. I hope you have great shows. I'm sure you will. Saw the Friedmans is selling a Jose amp directly at a few vendors. No list anymore. Hey, all you people want that. My grand Foco. This is a different Nick. Good morning, Mike. How are you? All right. Rick's Music World, what's going on? Great to see you, my friend. Been a minute. Hello, and welcome. Steve Garnowski. Hello. Braxel. Awesome. So the funny, I mean, look at this. How many guitarists can just sitting position. You know, it is so comfortable. And again, the deal is that the calf, the inner calf there, on the body that's kind of where that control comes from, and you're just really kind of, it's almost like you're wrapped around it with your arms, but with your legs. But if you're a left leg player and left leg practicer, it's impossible to play sitting down. But for, you know, as a kind of, if you will, a classical hand position, where the idea is that if you were kind of, your hands were to meet in the center of your body, that's about the place where your right hand should be, and you're naturally able to reach out kind of, if you will, from the center like this, although your right hand's not doing anything over there. But the idea is this is the most, ideally, the natural range of motion. So if you look at somebody like Segovia, and classical players, they always have, first of all, fabulous posture. They got with a little footrest. I've actually got one down there that I'm not using. And again, the ability to get up to the top of the neck without having to cross over. Melissa's on the phone here. That's never a good sign. Usually means there's something wrong with the mic here. Hang on a second. Either that or she's just commenting. Guitar is super loud. There we go. Tech support. All right, hang on a second. I can turn this down. Let me turn it down from here. Hope that's better. Listening, your guitar is much louder than the vocal mix. All right. Hey, give me some feedback there, people. Here is the guitar. And there's my voice. Okay, having way too much fun. Okay, I have a little Valaton GP5, which is kind of restricted NAMM player, but already sounds pretty good. Oh, that's awesome. I keep hearing about this Valaton. I've got to check one of those out. Thank you for the heads up, Sonia. I trust you're doing great. I'm in the midst of a massive studio clean, but there we go. I can see uh, your the cables for I don't have it out yet at the moment because the particular demo I'm working on is probably not going to use an expression pedal. But Sonia, hold on a second. Let me grab the fulcrum. I always talk about it. Let me grab it. It should be right here. Fulcrum. Here we go. The fulcrum is a dual axis expression pedal. And as much as Sonia might not appreciate it fully, it's the greatest. Oh, what the heck? No. Don't fade to black. Come on, stop that. There we go. But what's really cool about it is I love having it on the desktop because you can kind of use it like an expression pedal mouse pad. I flippin' love that. So it's great. Basically, there are the two connection points for your two different axes. Boom. Super cool pedal. All right. Let me get back down in here. Congratulations. Looking forward to the next thing. Is there a difference in how Triple X power section reacts versus the Badlander? Does it need more volume to get the power section working? Oh boy. So let's see here. Let's take you. So this is going to be kind of fun. I kind of toyed with whether I was going to do this or not. And the decision has been made that we are. And we're going to go here. The funny thing is that every one of my different guitars has a different type of... All right, hang. So... All right, so the crazy thing about all of this, let me make sure it's muted on input here. All right, there we go. All right, this right here. That is the ISO booth. Which probably sounds like a bunch of, which is actually what it sounds like in the room. All right, let's unleash the fury here. Let's see, or maybe a little louder. Let me add a little bit of fun sauce on there. Now this is the first kind of placement of the mic. Everybody here. Hello. I lost two people right there. Where are my comments? Give me my comments back. Come on. Give me my comments. There we go. All right. There we go. Hang on a second. All right. Let me just get caught up. Jason, good morning. Hello. Great to see you. Long time. Now that is with the super overdrive on. And you can hear a little bit of the, hang on, let me see. There's no easy way to mute both of those, but you can hear in the background bleeding through. That means that it is flipping crazy loud. I have never had it. All right. You dared me. Hang on, let me take the door off the ISO room. Oh, let the fun begin. All right. Going doorless here, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the volume, and I don't quite know what it's going to sound like in the room sonically, but... Gosh darn, that feels good. And yes, it's nice and loud. So that's with the door open. This is with the door back in place closed. And then this is the sound that's kind of coming through. And this is the mic sound. This is just the first placement of the mic, so not my favorite yet. Gosh, that's kind of fun. All right, hang on a second. All right, so that right there is the Rev F triple rack. So the deal is, to answer your question, come on, why am my comments keep disappearing? Hello, come back. All right, so to answer your question, Albert, so they're just different amplifiers. And so the thing about the triple rec is that because it's 150 watts, you have a massive amount of headroom. So you get to an extreme amount of volume before the power amp really starts giving up the ghost. By design, the triple rec is, although you can run EL34s in it, it's really made for 6L6s, unlike the Bandlander, which is made for EL34s. Some of the stuff that this tightens up. And again, this is the first placement of the microphone, so it's not ideal. Let me go with, what I've got is actually, hang on, I'm going to stack these guys in the center here. So I actually have two microphones. What I've got, I can't show you, but actually, hold on, let me isolate them. This is the first mic I placed. Hang on, no delay, no reverb, sorry, just one sec. that's mic number 1. No, that's mic number 2. My bad. That's the upper mic on the cabinet. This is that's the upper left speaker. This is the lower right. I need to attenuate that upper mic. Tonally, it's not quite in the right spot, but the idea is the blend of them together. I realize the volume's hotter. Gosh darn, it's out of sound. But I still don't quite have the mics where I want them, but closer. I like the sound of this guy, numero uno. It's going to be quieter. A little bit darker. This one's a little this one's a little too bright. But again, when you blend them, it's going to be hot. Now I'm going to pan them. It'll be not quite so in the middle. Just a really great sounding amp. So Albert, to answer your question, pretty much all the heavy lifting is happening in the front end. The bottom, the power amp is nice and tight, but the ability with this amplifier to get it obscenely loud. Again, this is the sound of the amp in the ISO booth. Oh, holy cow. So it's been so much fun to play with this thing. Let's take, so let me put that guy back on. And that tightens things up and just pulls it up. Here it is off. Back on. An obscene sound. Okay, let's see here. Hope that answered your question. So pretty much all the magic's happening in the front end and in the preamp section, but I've learned a lot, especially on a call yesterday with Trent. He hates when I call him this. He is my handler at Mesa Boogie and Gibson. But we went through a lot of things about kind of just the different tube sections of the amplifier, what exactly a rectifier tube does, which I actually didn't know. It's actually in, there's basically a little bit of amp talk here. You're going to learn something maybe today. Basically, if you could divide your amplifier into 4-ish sections, the power section coming into the amplifier. Badlander, like the rectifiers here, has a slightly different language. It's actually described bold and variac over there. It's described bold and spongy here. So basically, what you're able to do is take the power coming out of the wall and step it down to what I recall was about 93 volts. I'll need to double check, but it basically drops the power down, which means the amplifier behaves less accurately. And so, well, hold on. I'm going to stand by it before. It's on the back of the amp. I'm not going to do that today. The But basically, you're taking the power at the very beginning of the amplifier circuit and you're going, hey, we're going to drop down the voltage. And what a rectifier tube does, as you're changing the current from AC to DC, you can basically have either solid state diodes or a rectifier tube in that part of the circuit. And as you might imagine, the tube has more give and more sag. So now what you're doing is you're using a tube potentially in the power, as in just coming out of the wall section of the amplifier before everything, to choose how, if you want to add a little bit of lucency, or in this particular case, this one will be set on the silicone diode, which means it will be stiffer in feel because it's not passing through a tube on its way into the preamp. In the preamp is where I don't have any preamp tubes, but that's where you have the little 12AX7 dealios. Then in turn, in between the preamp, and that's where basically all that distortion is coming from. It's in the preamp section, cascading one tube into the next, creating this beautiful distortion. Now, that in turn goes into what, if you have engaged, is the effects loop. And basically that's an insertion point in between the preamp and the power amp, where traditionally you run out to your time-based effects like delays and reverbs. That comes back to the power amp section, which is where you're going to, and by the way, you will also have a 12AX7 on the effects loop. I need to double check that, but I'm 90% positive when we were going through the schematic. I know it's tube driven. I'm pretty sure it's a 12AX7. Then it turn goes back into the power amp section, or goes back in, and then it goes to the power amp section, where then in turn you're running your, in this case, 6L6s, which is a huge amount of power. Dare I say a vulgar display of power. So then, in turn, that goes out into the output transformer. Now, this particular channel does not use it, but on the orange channel, this is the red channel, there is negative feedback where it actually takes a tap right off the output of the speaker jack and runs it back into the power amp section. And basically, as you bring that presence control up, you're reducing the negative feedback, which is causing phase cancellation. So basically, as you bring that up, it's just reducing the amount of negative feedback. So there's some interesting things about how it's working that I have enough of an understanding to be slightly dangerous. And if I got any of the pieces of that wrong, I apologize. But it's pretty darn close due to proximity and the clarity that I got yesterday. But the neat thing about that is it kind of gave me some idea about how all these things. I was like, somebody's like, what does the rectifier tube rectify? So in any case, that was very insightful for me. So it was pretty darn exciting. All right, there we go. All right, so let's see. Let me get caught up again. Hello, sweetheart. Glad you're enjoying the day. Rick, awesome. Great to hear. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Love you, bro. Always a pleasure. Okay, metal head knitting. I'm in, well, no, I'm, what is this, C sharp? I should be B, right? Yeah, I'm in B with that. That's a low B, right? Okay, so I'm tuned. This is normally in C sharp, but I've got it in drop B from C sharp, which is kind of funny. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, sounds fine. Awesome, better, good, good, good. Thank you. A little louder than your voice, but I like it. Thank you, Danny. That's the way to go. Shane, good morning. I like that photo, Danny, by the way. All right. Good, good, good. I'm going to leave that down there. I saw a picture of your Jackson V. Supposed to be made for. I saw a picture of a Jackson V that was supposed to be made for KK Downing. Had serial number 1. I read it. Randy Concord's didn't have serial numbers. Oh, interesting. By the way, let me just take a quick moment. I'm going to pause that there. I want to very quickly run into Chris's questions, but hang on a second. Let me do this real quick. It is time for. Hey, there we go. That's how we like to roll here. So Chris, as many of you know, kindly sends through some questions here. And I'm not seeing many questions down in the comments yet, so bring them, please. But he kindly sent something through. How do I recommend learning things like scales? This is such a great question. First of all, if we were to think about, I'm going to bypass you. I'm going to go back to this guy. All right, first and foremost, I spent a lot of time studying a bunch of other players and teachers in particular. I'm toying with the idea of not having enough things to do, of launching a separate YouTube lesson channel where I can really not dilute the focus of what I'm doing on Doppler's Gear Garage, and basically, the gear side of what I do is the gear side of what I do. There we go. But the lesson side, it would be delusional to put that on the same channel as all the gear stuff. So I'm probably going to start a new channel, and one of the things I'm going to be going over is just kind of how to make better use of thinking about scales and whatnot. So one of the things that I kind of did earlier, I was playing. And I was doing something with the pentatonic where I was playing through these little boxes. But the starting place with the pentatonic, we're going to go to kind of how kind of you can go up in different levels. But starting place, just getting the pentatonic box is a great place to start. And my suggestion would be, first of all, make sure you know the fingering. 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4 4 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1, or 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1. Now, if I had a chance to go back and teach every one of you your first pentatonic lesson, I would first start by saying, look, the minor pentatonic scale, it's a 5-note scale. The note names are A, C, D, E, G, A. And the distance from the A to the C, we describe as a minor third. The C to D, a major second. D to E, a major second. E to G, a minor third. And G to A, a major second. So the sound between these different notes is one of the things. In addition to just training your fingers to play the scale, let's start listening for the sound of these. Then, in turn, we would describe these as compared to the major scale as a 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. As in 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. A, C, D, E, G, A. And if I played that A minor bar chord, it's a bunch of A's, E's, C's, E's, and A's. In terms of how you're going to use the scale, let's just say you've got a chord progression, say 1 chord progression. And you could use those notes of the chord to resolve to out of the scale. You take that same shape and move it up 12 frets. So this is 5, it's going to be 17. If you want to get tappy and you want to bend, but keeping in mind as you're going, if this is the 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, that bend is from the 4 to the 5. That's from the flat 7, that's 5 and flat 7. Flat 7 to the 1, the flat 3 to the 4. Now, that was a lot of information, but it allows you to think, oh, okay, that's what's going on. Move it up a half step. Move it up another half note. And you get used to playing it in. In those different registers, and I was adding a few other notes, but generally just playing the minor pentatonic. And so you just get used to kind of eliciting sound out of those different shapes, but with the understanding that those shapes are driven by note names, and those note names we can assign scale degree numbers, and as we're thinking about the chords we're playing over, that's how we know which notes to resolve to. So letting you in on the plot. So we're just going to stop with the pentatonic, but that's the idea is being able to take that concept further. I'm gonna go one step further. So let's move back to A, and again, A minor pentatonic notes are going to be A, C, D, E, G, A. So when we're over that A chord, you can hear how those notes. So you heard me there resolve with the 1, the flat 3, and the 5. But what happens when we go to this chord? So you should now be able to hear me outline the chord changes. So the notes of the G chord are a bunch of G's, B's, and D's. Well, this is A, C, D, E, G, A, and only the G and the D, as in the G and the D, cross over into the notes of the minor pentatonic. So when we're playing over this chord, are the notes we want to target. But if we don't know what the notes are, then we don't know what the notes are. But that's really, honestly, kind of the magic of soloing, and that's how you kind of are able to really be inside the chord changes. And so, Chris, to answer your question, let me go back to it literally here. How do you recommend learning things like scales? And it's such a powerful question because it's not, when people think about learning scales, they think about my left hand or my right hand. I spend a stupid amount of time really trying to get my right hand and my left hand to the point where I can play as fast and be as liquid with my left hand and my right hand with the minor pentatonic as I can, and that just takes practice. And so that is literally just there to answer the next part of your question with this little, and I do what I refer to as ramp ups. So I start pretty much all my techniques. Da, 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 and I go from 80 BPM in 5 BPM. Well, hold on, a second here. got a little 5 BPM incrementer. So there are certain spots, shut up, that little spot, that I'm really conscious of that upstroke right there. All right, not going to happen today. So basically, I went from 80 BPM, that was 155. And I really want, hold on, let me try it again. No, so the idea is to get it to the point where, and then we just bump back down to 150. That was 155. All right, it wasn't as needy-peedy as I wanted to be, but traditionally my day starts by running those, and you actually heard, usually I'll sit a little longer with each one. I'll take each one 4 times. First of all, it would be all the way up and down the pattern, but the hardest part, the bottom strings are the hardest ones to just kind of sit there and work with, but because those are the ones that require the most work to sit there and walk through in 5 BPM increments. Great question, Chris. All right, let me get caught up in the chat here real quick. And it's really interesting. I saw a bunch of people drop off, but it's always interesting to see what people are engaged by. It's a great question. Isa Booth sound quite boxy and boomy. You know, it's a very interesting point. Hang on a second. I missed a couple here. Let me just thoughts on players using too much gain to achieve a tone. Well, the interesting thing about that, let me just kind of, you know, just quickly. All right. So, so one of the things let's talk for a minute about that. So the idea is that, first of all, I'm gonna just presume that was, you know, Braxel, we're buddies. So right there, the literally the drive on there is at 10. But there are times my vibe I want to be able to find my vibe. And there's certain types of, when we bring the gain down, we got a little of the pluckishness. If you, we get a little extra pluckishness on the faster runs, but and while we're at it, let's just turn So that was a really long-winded answer with guitar. Trying to find, and this may not, if you're just a shredder metal dude and your thing is shredder metal dude thing, own it, play with as much gain as you need to get your vibe going. No shame. My particular vibe is that because it expands the range from super high gain explosive amplifiers, I got to be able to find myself at, and you heard me turn off. Yeah, I knew there was going to be a gain, a bump in volume there. Oh, there we go. There we go. Hold on, no. You go by two. There you go. To be able to play with next to no gain. Now you're getting, again, a little bit more pigment. But to be able to try and find your vibe, that includes the blues stuff, as well as the notier stuff, even without a lot of stuff to work with. That's kind of the goal of what I'm trying to do with my playing, and it's just taking some time, and it takes work. And the other thing about the right hand, being able to play at different dynamic levels. All right, get the point. All right, hang on a second. So that is to say, it's an interesting thing because there are. First of all, it's a great question. So let me be clear about that. First of all, I encourage each of us to kind of go, all right, what happens when I start taking all my little, my enhancing, makes it a little bit easier toys to play, start taking them away. Start starving the circuit for gain, no delays, no reverbs, and trying to get used to finding your vibe. Because the neat thing is when you can kind of, zero in on whatever it is your vibe is, and then you start adding in yeah, enough of you. Come on. Thank you. Let's add a little bit of this. Bring you back in. start learning how to kind of deal with tones that are less friendly than those that we would normally keep in our, if you will, tonal ecosystem. So for me, that's been one of the big things to go really first person. My goals for the next year are to get back out and start playing live. And that includes a number of situations where I'll potentially come up on stage with somebody not having any idea of what amp I'm playing through, not having any idea of what the tone is until I plug and go. That's what I've got to work with. And with that in mind, I'm preparing for that season. Just kind of go, okay, what can I make with not a lot to work with? Totally dry, not a lot of gain. Cool. I know how to behave in that circumstance. And, you know, there's kind of like there's some Marshall amps here. So part of my journey is going to be spending some time with those. But there's an amp. It's a couple of times I've seen it happen. I saw it happen to Slash. I played a benefit, Hurricane Katrina benefit, to date myself, and Slash was on the bill as well. And there was this one Marshall, the whole night. It was the worst. It was one of the worst sounding Marshalls I've ever heard. Slash flies in. He was in New York, got in time to come play, and he starts playing. And he turns around, and he looks at the amp, turns back around, and just goes into playing. He knew it was one of the worst sounding amplifiers, but he was like, that's what I got to work with. Time to be Slash. And then there was another event that I'm not going to mention what the event was, but there was this one particular Marshall where that one, the Slash Marshall, was muddy and distorted in not a good way, especially with a Les Paul. It was like, but he handled it with class. The other one is the Marshall that is just heinously bright. And it's just like right in your face. But the point being is you're like, how are you going to make something happen without going back? Oh, let me go adjust the amp. It's like, no. None of the guys in those types of playing systems go back and go, oh, if you didn't get a chance to sound check and you're just walking up, you deal with it. And you got to be ready to deal with it. It's a whole thing. So in any case, okay, good. So the ISO booth, there you go. So this is a very interesting thing, is ISO booth sound. So I'm kind of curious, Sonia, if you're still here, are you referring to the sound in the room or just the sound inside the booth? I actually was, so the thing about the ISO booth is, I got to double check the measurements. It's pretty much just 4 by 4 by about 4, a little bit taller, probably about 5, which basically means it's a combination of all the worst things you would want. Parallel surfaces that equal the distance. So you're going to get standing waves, but then it's got kind of the egg foam. I ordered some stuff there's some holes through which the sound travels, or the cables travel. I ordered, this isn't the piece yet, there's another one of these, but basically this type of material. And if I stick this between me and the microphone, it probably sounds, there's my voice, and then there's my voice through this. Chances are you could hear how murky that material is. Well, the deal is, the walls of that are probably particle board. And so now you've got sound hitting the particle board through that stuff and reverberating back. So in the process, and that does make its way to the microphones. Now, I am close miking it. So generally speaking, the microphone will actually pick up sound coming off the back of it. But the volume of the initial sound coming out of the cabinet back there is probably great enough that whatever's happening in terms of the box, and it is a little boxy, and it is a little boomy, but with a 150 watt amplifier on 4, which means it's really loud, good and loud, and it's a feeling of satisfaction just to feel that thing vibrating the walls. It's just. So in any case, there you go. So in any case, I'm curious, you're still here. Any case, all right, imagine your shoulders. I'm going to let you guys chat about that. A little muddy. All right, cool. Thanks for the heads up. Hello, hey, what's going on, my man? Great to see you. Hello. Thank you, my man. Always a pleasure. You shred, but we already knew that. Great to see you. Hello. Okay. All right, hey, Tim, what's going on? I don't know if we've met. I like that photo a lot. Greetings from Northern California. Welcome. If you got any questions, please feel free to let them through in the chat. I would love to see that. 70 degrees in Colorado. There we go. It's been an extended summer. Nice to hear. Okay, excellent. I bet I can hear that down the street. Yes. Okay. Wow, what a difference. Hey, Nandini, hang on a second. And that does remind me, you know what time it is. It's time to raise them up. So do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen, if I can hit the right button. There we go. Let me know where it is that you're coming from and what it is that you're drinking. And I've got some peach with some muscle milk. Still haven't tried to see if there's anything I can do about the chair there, but it's got personality. All right, good. Nandini, welcome. Great to see you. That's why you use finished 30s. Okay. Wow, that made a difference. I wish I knew what I did. You must be talking about the pedal. All right. Melissa, do you need earplugs? There we go. All right, getting caught up here. Let me just quickly run through here and see if there's any question. Magnus, hello. Wow, awesome. Hey, welcome. Good morning from California. Let's see. I think you get some E blues. Welcome. Awesome. Pleasure. Thanks for saying hi, too. My 80s brain wants a phase pedal on that. Okay. Awesome. No, this is great. Thank you. Steve Greenleaf, what's going on, my man? My friend. Okay, Gem, holy stack of mesas. Oh, holy cow. That is the sound of a string about to break. Whenever you got the Floyd on, it just goes, oh, I'm just going to do something really wacky there. Gem, you broke my string. Jem is, of course, my NAMM roommate. Great guitar player. Content creator. Missing that one right there. It's because I'll get. There we go. I'm like that. Jim, welcome, my friend. Always a pleasure. All right. What is the sound coming up the I-5 corridor? Come on. All right, Jason, my Amtech modded my triple rec to eliminate the parallel path in the effects loop. If you don't use the effects, you need a jumper cable. Love what it did to the tone. Okay, so quick aside, there are a couple of different versions of effects loops. 1, 2, this is the Rev F and this is the Rev G. Both of those are on loan. The Rev F has a series effects loop, which basically means it runs through there, and I'm 99% positive that was around the backside of Rectifier Hill. that the Rev G has a parallel effects loop. Now, the reason that was done, and it's an interesting thing, is, and first of all, for most people who have a parallel effects loop, that's okay. Sorry, let me break into English here for a moment. Your traditional effects loop is a series effects loop, which today makes a lot of sense. There was a period of time that was marked. Tell me you're in the box. There we go. There was a period of time that was really marked before and after kind of this box, where things that weren't rack units that you would be inclined to put in your effects loop would either brown out because they couldn't handle the level of the effects loop, or the sound that went through it sounded like le poo-poo. Eventide, this box in particular, first of all, what I love about the time factor, it's got a ton of controls. The funny thing is it stayed in kind of the effect rack, but it's just a rack of different stomp boxes for years. But I have always known that there'll be times that there's an amp here that I can't talk about. It's under embargo. But basically, this was instantly I was like, this is the pedal I'm reaching for. And it's just it's just kind of got all the classic algorithms that you would want, vintage delays, modern digital delays, and it's a great sounding pedal. You can run 2 delays at the same time. You can change the blend between the 2 delays. You can choose the volume of each of the delays. It's just great, and you can do it without a flippin' phone. Hello? Did I rant? You can actually reach out and touch the knobs. And what's great about it is because it's got some weight to it, you put it on top of the amplifier, it's not going to fall off due to a kind of a bouncy drum riser. So when that happened, the need for a parallel effects loop really dropped off. And the benefit of a parallel effects loop is there's a direct signal going through, and there's a secondary signal that you turn your delay all the way up, get rid of any direct signal, and that gets blended in parallel. And that was done to make it such that the direct signal didn't get compromised by the lack of fidelity or potential browning out, whatever effects unit. After Rev G, I believe, and this is not verified, so just bear with. Let me just hang on. Unfortunately, with these mirrored panels here, it's flipping next to impossible to read. Just one sec, sorry. Double checking. All right. There we go. Yeah, mix level. Yeah, so the Rev G, this guy right here, I haven't double checked the serial number, but my buddy that loaned it to me told me it's a Rev G, and I'll believe him. This one here, can you see the smaller plate? Yeah, that's a Rev F. So the point being is that the parallel effects loop has a send level and then a mix level, so you can just mix in the delay without compromising the direct signal. For those of us, so getting back to Jason's comment, modified my triple rack that eliminates the parallel effects path. If you don't use the effects loop, you need a jumper cable. Love what it did to the tone. So, the idea of basically you're just running it in series, which is the reason they did it then made a lot of sense, and the reason they stopped doing it after that made a lot of sense. Way to go. Congratulations, great amp. Holy cow. And Jason and I met at Pops in Sauget. It's on the border of Michigan and that other state. Gosh darn it. Missouri. So in Sauget was in Missouri, technically. All right. Good. I do not have a clean tone setup to answer your question. It's hard to get room of the room resonance of the booth no matter what mic technique. Shot in the heart. You know what, Sonia? I'm going to agree and disagree simultaneously. because you're absolutely right. But the great thing about this booth is because it's got a door at the and this is where you put in the earplugs if you're so inclined. I can reamp and I can see what happens when because the door. Let's say if the front of it is this big, the door is about yay big. So the door is about 5, 6 as big as the side of the box that it's on. And my guess is if I take that door off, and there's also a little top panel I can take off, I will eliminate some of the boxiness. The other thing that I do is I put the cabinet at a little bit of an angle, but I appreciate the feedback. And again, real friends will tell you when it's sucking or it's going to suck. Okay, hey, what's going on, Jose? What do I think about one Boss Metal Zone plugged in to a Microsystem Sony 80-inch? Okay, hold on a second. Microsystem Sony 80-inch. So let me just double check. Microsystem. Okay, first of all, back in the day, and we would be talking 70s. I used to have one of these I inherited it from my dad. It was a console. Hold on, I'm going to have to pull up a record player console. Let me see if I can find an image that actually looks a lot like the one that I had. Come on. Getting close. But basically it had a phono input, and they used to have this beautiful place that was the center of my universe for a long time called Radio Shack, a Tandy corporation. So you could go there and get a 1/4 inch to what I believe was a phono adapter, and you would run it into the back of the box that looked roughly like this. Let's go to this guy. Let's see this guy. Can we get you guy? There we go. So it looked something like this. We're not going to be able to get the front of it. But let's get over here and let's get to Google Chrome. Where is this thing? Sorry for the delay here. Got a noise. Does somebody keep too many tabs open? Oh, come on. Where are you? There we go. That is basically what I used to use. So, or something like that. And so, hello, let me get to the right window here. There we go. No, we're going back over here. So the point being is I would run a Electro-Harmonix mini muff plugged into my guitar and into that console. So I think it's a great idea. And what's cool is you're making great use of your technology. I think it's a great idea. Rock on. You might try a couple of different pedals for different flavors, but it's making use of what you got, and I love that. Very clever. So I approve. Awesome. Yes, those are Fishman's. Gosh darn it. That is an old model called a Prophecy, and I love that guitar. There we go. Thank you, Chris. Okay, okay. You know, the funny thing is, let's see how I can talk about this without talking about this. So, every so often I get a chance to, through different relationships, have my hands in stuff that is under embargo. It hasn't been released yet. And one of the conversations I had recently was around frequencies. And so kind of literally one of the people that I was working with that I can't talk about in this moment, but they literally we kind of plugged in this little 10-band EQ, and they instantly went to this fader and they pulled the frequency that was the troubling one. And so one of the videos that I have been wanting to make on the gear front is kind of what are the key frequencies to know. So the first of all, I would suggest in a practical sense, record. Let me just very quickly. We'll do this I will do this on a Saturday, but we'll do a little EQ training. And I'll do kind of basically one of the things that about the live stream is it gives me a chance to kind of answer questions in real time about certain topics. So we'll do one on EQ. And what I'll do is I'll pull up. I'll have some pre-recorded sounds in place, and then we'll go to EQ things. But basically, the short version is that your 80 hertz is a nice place to bring the bass up and have a little bump there. The kick drum lives generally right around 60 hertz with a little bump somewhere in the beater right around 1.5 to 4K. Generally, it's going to be in 1.5 to 2.5K, roughly. And then just start messing with that. And then in turn, with the acoustic guitar, you want to first of all pull everything below 100 hertz out of there. And that's called what's called a high-pass filter. It lets everything above a certain point pass through, and everything below gets filtered out. It's a really, really important technique. It's one of the ongoing conversations that I'm going to have in this video that I'm making about the first of a couple videos on the triple rectifier. Is some of the folks, and part of what I was trying to do was to have. Where are we on standby? Yeah. Stand by your amp. I would never play with that much low end. My sound guy would beat me about the head, but once you do it, you kind of go, oh, that feels really good. And again, that was in response to a comment that somebody has like, hey, there's not enough low end. And the deal is what people want in the framework. I'm in my room or I'm in my corner of my rehearsal space and I just live in my universe and I can have as much low end as I want. Own it. Live it. Live the dream. Because when you actually walk into a live situation, the sound guy goes, everything below 100 hertz, out of there. You walk into the studio, everything below 100 hertz, out of there. And all of a sudden you go like, that doesn't sound like my sound anymore. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize in the framework of this part of the conversation, if you go back, and I purposely have been doing this, again. Is listening to all the classic, the Limp Bizkit, the Linkin Parks, the Creed. There's this track. I was never really a giant fan of. It's not Stone Sour, the other one, Jim Root's band. Hold on, it'll be over here in my playlist. I create playlists for stuff when I'm working on stuff. So go to the Triple Rec playlist, kind of. Oh, what the heck? Come on, there it is. Everybody's already knows what it is. There we go. Slipknot. Holy cow! There's this track called "The Dying Song" that has probably the most brutal rhythm guitar I've ever heard, and it takes a certain amount. First of all, there's a song that one of my students was like, "Hey, can we spend some time going over this?" And it's called "Blues Deluxe." In case you haven't heard it, it's a killer. It's actually, I think, a Jeff Beck group song. But there's a Joe Bonamassa version of it that Joe is just playing every great blues lick ever played in one song. I was like, dang. And so there's a finite number of times where I just sit here in my chair and just go, just getting biatch slapped by like, wow, what a performance. The guitar tone on The Dying Song, there are moments where the guitar is just kind of on its own and you just kind of go, so, and the interesting thing about the way that particular song is mixed is the guitars are actually further forward than the bass. So most of the time, though, the guitar sits above the bass. Like if you're a fan of the Bizkit, you'll actually hear the guitar is actually smaller than the bass, and they're sitting together kind of like this. But you could listen to it, and if you're not actively listening, go, oh, that's the guitar being this big. And it's actually, no, it's the guitar sitting above here. And they're totally set. They're, if you will, band separated in their own EQ sections. They live in their own domain. That way, the guitar is the guitar and the bass is the bass. Because when they start masking each other, you get noise. Noise is bad. All right. In any case, knowing your EQ points is great. I will put together a bigger training. The other thing that I would suggest, Shane, is go back and first of all, if you have a digital console, one of the things that you can do is do a virtual mix. And so that means is that find, whether you've got it or whether somebody else has a DAW, and you record everything through the console. Just get it recorded. I realize your drums aren't going to be there unless you're using digital drums. And I say that even though you'll have, acoustic drums, you'll have mic, but it's not going to be the same as what happens when they fill the room. But that will be a great way to go if you can do a virtual mix and you just kind of isolate the bass. Let me start messing around with stuff. The other thing is compression is a great way to just make things only they don't get any quieter, any louder than a certain point. You don't want to over compress it, but just helps things stay in their dynamic lane. Shredward, what's going on, my friend? Great to see you. Love that photo. Hello, hello. Okay, Adam, good morning, good morning. Great to see you. Hello. All right, Spencer. Oh, we got a conversation coming up, but not today. All right. Excellent. Oh, this right. Long in the tooth indeed. All right. With my students, if it's 100 watts max, different for solid states. It's not until you do 150 watts. And again, hold on. This is my favorite part about this. Oh, come on. Where is my? There we go. Go away. You. Again, the fact that this is the sound escaping from the ISO booth. Just. Probably sounds like over the live stream, but holy cow. All right. Excellent. South Texas Coca-Cola. Come on. Good to see you again. I'll raise them back up for you. All right. Let me just see if there's any questions. I'm going to, well, no, I'm not going to do that. Salutations, Jerry. Great to see you. Loved hanging out at NAMM. That was one of the highlights of the show. There we go. Cafe Bustelo, dark roast in Tacoma. Come on. I'm a legend in my own mind. Don't forget that. Hello, hello. Tony, what's happening? Can you hear that out there? Okay. Stadium XL. Okay, so first of all, great question. Thank you for asking. Appreciate your jumping in. It's a funny thing. I think there are a bunch of people that kind of, for whatever reason, don't ask questions. So the thing, Braxel asked me, it's like, hey, what do you think about players who play with too much gain? Which, given the amount of gain that I was using earlier, he was either very nicely going like, hey, do you ever play without so much gain? Or it was, or it was just like, you play with a lot of gain. What do I think about, maybe less gain? And in any case, it was either said very nicely, or it was just saying, what about those guys over there that all they do is play with way too much gain? First of all, if too much gain is your thing, love it and live with it. But one of the things that as it relates to these modelers that I watch, so part of what I do when I get ready to do a video like this, because there's so much depth of field about these amplifiers, is I'd pretty much watch anybody's video that's kind of in the conversation so I don't miss anything they might say or play, so I can go, oh, I wouldn't have thought of doing that. Let me bring that into my wheelhouse, or let me at least be influenced by that piece of that, so I take something away from that, so I learn from that. And one of the videos was from Sonic Drive Studio. You've probably seen them on there. And the guy, and he first of all plays really well and has really good content. So one of the videos that I had going as I was kind of setting stuff up in the room last night was talking about the difference between modelers and tube amps. And, the ironically, I think this is the first time I've ever done this, where I'm actually just jumping back and forth between and I didn't, normally on a good day, I'll record a little bit of audio into the Ecamm Live, the streaming application that I use, and then play it back, which I did this morning. I changed a little something about my setup And I'm really glad I did because it would have sounded terrible today. But I had some software that needed to get authorizations redone. Those got that reauthorized and kind of back to my older setup. So I had to pull a couple of cables over there to make that happen. But I did something today where I was literally toggling back and forth between tube amp tone using the down tuned 7th string, and this this is using the Helix Stadium. And so the long story short is I do not think tube amps and modelers behave at all the same. A tube amp, for all the reasons that I talked about, there are all these electrons floating around there interacting with temperature, humidity, cables, cabinets, boxy isolation booths. There's just all sorts of stuff that, as much as you can model each one of the components or proxy it, it's different than actually just plugging in, and one of the other things is that, plugging into a pedal into the front end of the amp or plugging into the amp just kind of does different things on input, and modeling that behavior doesn't do it identically. However, this morning I didn't actually have the Behemoth plugged in, and I came down. I was like, and I had this kind of guy over here. I was here at here. And usually what I'll do, because I had to get the room, this video has got lots of layers to it, so the room looked like a hurricane had landed. Normally what I'll come do is come down, and like you guys heard me doing, is the groups of 3 notes kind of from 80 BPM up to 160, and run at least pattern number 1 on the minor pentatonic doing that. I didn't have time to do that today. So normally what I'll do is, before I go jump in the shower, before I come down here, is I'll just plug into whatever I'm going to go for. And try and get my vibe on. And the great thing is that, especially adding a little bit of that back in, my new look of the day. All right, so sorry. Anybody's got a whammy bar? That's the 5th fret, G string, 1st fret, and then you kind of walk your way up at that's G, G sharp, and you hit that A, and you're just hitting the 14th, 9th, and 7th. In any case, that was kind of what happened. I didn't play it very well, and I just kind of get my vibe going. And I literally just fired it up and started playing. I'm like, great, I can work with that. So per Brax's comment, though, what I did is I dropped it down to about 3.5 there in terms of the gain on that. to say in a very long-winded response is that they're all getting so good. Quad Cortex, Stadium. First of all, I have a really nice relationship with all the neural guys. Not all the neural guys. The neural guys, Doug Castro, we're friendly. I wouldn't say he's a friend. I like to say he's a friend, but we're friendly. He's a lovely guy. Great bass player, by the way. And actually takes the time to reach out to people on social. He's the real deal. And they've built a great thing. Quad Cortex, the Cortex Mini, they are building great tones, and there are just so many great things about that device. I've also been kind of a Line 6 person for, it's getting close to decades. So whether it's been a Sunday morning thing, whether it's been, just kind of being able to just plug in on a Saturday morning, just go, there it is. Their stuff is great. So at this point, the other thing about the Stadium universe or ecosystem is now they're getting very close to dropping proxy. Everybody knows that. It's not hidden information. So that means that inside the Line 6 universe, you're going to be able to capture your own amps and pedals. Drive pedals, that is, not time-based effects. But, inside here, and I'm also a fractal guy. So I kind of like, and there are different times that I reach for these different devices. The fractal stuff I generally just use for the effects. So pretty much anytime I'm using kind of some fancy pants amp rig with boogie stuff, I'm almost always going to be reaching for the fractal effects just because that's kind of what I go for. I did talk about the time factor. This is kind of, I play on Sunday mornings at church. This is, something from the Line 6 universe has been, with me pretty much since the first Sunday, actually, literally since the first Sunday I ever played at church. Boom. But obviously that's not, a Sunday morning tone, at least. But literally, what's so cool about this is that as things have gotten progressed, there's go to the number 2 pickup selection. All right, so lots of pretty kind of singing sort of stuff. But now let me bring up. That's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I. Oh yeah, that was that. I'm going to bring the tone down, and this is traditionally where modelers have an. That touch sensitivity is a huge part of. Point being is just like there's so much great processing and programming that went into that box. It's going for all these different devices. It's gotten that good. The next thing that's going to happen is the integration of AI. And Spencer, Clark, and I are having an offline conversation that we're not ready to have on this channel yet. But I will say that, one of the challenges with AI is there's a lot of things about it when you see certain things or hear certain things, you just want to vomit. And in the process of the vomitous atmosphere, it would be easy to miss some of the amazing things that are happening. So I'll leave it there for right now, but there's some pretty amazing stuff that so long as you don't there are people that are creating with AI where AI is doing the creative work and they think they're creative because they're putting in a prompt. They're putting in creative prompts. That's different than actually taking the time to sit down with the instrument and learn how to play a music or how to craft an arrangement. However, there was a period of time where people, who use computers, people who actually crunch numbers on paper and that sort of that, they probably were looked at as cheaters. Change comes. You have to be prepared. If you were a taxi cab driver, Uber came, Lyft came. Times change. The way music is created, I think we're going to see a shift. I think AI is going to impact that, and people putting in prompts of actual pre-recorded music and then getting AI to, well, go there briefly. If you put in your own music as a prompt and it spits something out and gives you an idea that you wouldn't have thought of, but you can go, oh, I can add that to my wheelhouse, then it's fueling your native creativity. The thing about AI that people really, I think, myself included, when I see those stupid little puppy things, just like you just kind of, the stuff that's so obviously AI, you just want to vomit. You're just like, why are you showing me this garbage? But once you're going to separate yourself from the feeling around just thinking about all AI being, that's like going, all bad, fast food is bad, vomitous. Opposed to like, actually, little in and out goes a long way, So I'm just saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We'll leave it there for right now. Let's see here. Okay, so that is to say, they're all great. I'm surrounded by. Also, I'm a huge fan of the IK multimedia stuff. It's so good, and so each one of them has its own little thing that I kind of like. Thing about the IK for the high gain tones, it's kind of some of the easiest, best playing I've ever done. Just going to say it. There's something about their algorithms that make it just really liquid in a really fun way. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so so Spencer, so that's 1 point font for Illinois and Missouri. There we go. Hey, Jason, we're talking about pops in Sauget, Illinois and Missouri, but I think it was technically Missouri. Okay, so this will be 1 point font if you're on an iPhone or, excuse me, Android as well. I've come to the conclusion late in life, it was Nuno Betancourt that brought this up. So many people grab a celebrity's guitar and they still sound like themselves. True, you'll hear about it 1,000 times. VH had a few stories about this. I think I'm done with signature guitars. So let me caution you. Let me caution you to not make that mistake. Let me grab. I'm going to grab John. Now, you here. The great thing about this guitar is it reflects a ton of really brilliant things that Mr. Petrucci has done here. All right, so that's not necessarily a blues guitar. That Bloom. So, first of all, this guitar is set up with 10s and 10 through 46. It's a very, comparatively to my other guitars, it's a very tight instrument. I would say stiff, but stiff would be not the right adjective or stiff adjective to describe it affectionately. But you have to work to earn your take-home pay on this guitar. I could loosen up the springs, but this guitar is intended to be kind of tight because of the kind of music that John plays and the environment in which he plays it. That tightness translates through the boogie gear in a way that sits really well in that band situation where there's so much musical information happening simultaneously. So having an instrument and sits really nicely in its lane. Now it takes a little bit of extra because the string tension on this guitar. It's a little bit harder to play. That sort of stuff on a guitar where the tension on the strings is lighter. But you can kind of work your way through it once you kind of get it. Just for piss and giggles, if anybody's holding a guitar, I'm basically playing a Dorian, but I'm kind of walking up a little bit out of tune. I'm kind of walking down from the second string. You walked up G major. And you ended up at the top. And you walk down to the second string. And you kind of walk down. That basically has E, F sharp, G. And walk that down to the flat 5, which is going to be D flat. Sorry, E flat. You kind of do this little walking guy. Across the Dorianized pentatonic. So I'm kind of doing a shift down from the F sharp. Kind of starts off here. Shift down to B. Shift down to E. And then down to a G for a resolution back to A. In any case, hope that helps somebody. Once you get used to it, a little extra bit of string tension. All the things that John has put into this guitar, you can really appreciate because it reflects all the things that he's looking for. Ergonomically, all the controls are in places where you would naturally go for them, and these switches here are kind of in line with the natural arc of the hand or arm. And the tremolo, I did string change on this guitar, and this is one of the things that's important to do. Don't wait too long to change strings. The guitar got a little angry with me, and it hasn't quite sat in tune perfectly since then. There's this kind of equilibrium between the springs on the back and the tremolo brought into tension with the springs. And basically they get, generally speaking, but until I change the strings, it's always stayed in tune exceptionally well. So I'm going to take it to my buddy Gary. He'll do a little magic on it. But to be able to do that, normally, again, it stays in tune exceedingly well. Is this hooked up? No, it's not. But everything about this guitar is signature, and I love that. Right? You know, I don't need to kind of prove the point any more than that, other than to say the fact that you've got all the things that all these players that make signature instruments. You know, it's my dream that at some point people will be able to get, or one of my dreams, that people will be able to get one of these guitars because all the stuff that you can do with it. Does kind of a very stratty vibe. Bridge position, it's got this one's got the P90. It's a noodle machine. But you can do your own. Hugely versatile and literally, just toggling pickup selector, not even messing with the volume and tone controls. So that flexibility is one of the things that as a quote unquote player, as you begin to put together an instrument that reflects the different things you need to do, it reflects the different things you need to do. Because I play so many different little pieces of things and draw them in, the versatility of an instrument like this is what the benefit of a quote unquote signature instrument is. So I would not. I want to encourage you to you got those Pias. I think you have a Pia and a Gem. I want to encourage you to just kind of go where can that instrument take you in the lines of where that instrument was made to benefit from that. All right, Mark. Hey, what's going on? Pleasure. I don't think we've met. So hey, hello. Thank you for taking the time to share your experiences. Even though I've been playing guitar for 35 years, you've taught me a lot and opened my eyes to things I didn't know or never thought about myself. Flippin' A, you made my day. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for hanging out. Awesome. When you live close to the North Pole, it's dark for 4 to 5 months a year. It's great, some new inspiration from you. Thank you very much. Tune in. Do me a favor. Ask as many questions as you want. And thank you. You made my day. The goal here, I should probably say this at the beginning of every show, is to be able to dig into something that will benefit other players. That's really what we're doing. It's kind of like, it is called Doppler's Gear Garage, so it's my garage, but it's my garage is a portal to the world. So we're hanging out together in my garage, and it means we get a chance to have a conversation. And so there's a back and forth, which I love. Skip Kelton. Hold on, did you switch? Okay. Hold on a second. Hold on, Spencer. So okay. So Spencer, is this not you, Skip? My apologies. So just in case you are Skip and you're not Spencer with a different name there. First of all, hello. You look shocking like some other photos I've seen of Spencer Clark. In any case, Skip, if you're Skip and not Spencer, hello. And flippin' corn, dude. There was a song that came up on my playlist this morning. You. Right, Make Me Bad. I'm just like, what a great band. And holy cow. In any case, pleasure. Cheers. All right, Adam cannot stay to the end, but it was great to watch you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, Blues Deluxe, Bonamassa Rock Blast video was the best. There's a Rock Blast video of that. I wonder if that's the same version that I've been listening to. I'll have to check that out. Have to pack up and get ready for a show later. Always great to see everyone. I get the DL from Dee. Thanks so much. Always a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you soon, Jason. All right. Thank you. I look forward to having a great weekend too. I got a lesson starts in 2 minutes. I guess we actually have all right. Oh, wait. Okay. I felt like it took forever to be able to tune a piano. Now I'm trying to dial in tones. There you go. Mark Turvey. That right there sounds sweet. What did I do? I'll try to do it again. Okay. All right. So, hey, okay, I got to do one last thing before we get out of here. Okay. All right. So, Albert, I got a lesson that starts in a minute. All right. So we, I earlier, hey Brent, what's going on? All right, so this guy is kind of a kind of a hybrid picking blues hammer-on pull-off thing that will make you grow muscles on your pinky you never knew you had. Basically, you got your first finger. Basically playing D, E, and F. Then G, A, B flat, A, B, G, A, B flat, A, G, A, B flat, A, and then this one is going A, B, C, B, A, B, C, B. So you got basically our root of G is going to be playing the D, E, and F. So basically going D, E, D, E, D, E, F, D, or sorry, D, E, D, E, D, E, F, E. So you're basically taking this pattern. And then we move it up. Then we move up to D there. You just do that kind of 2 times. And then same thing at C. So you kind of do that without the, you just do the walk up. So we're kind of going second, fourth, second, fourth. Sorry, it's going. Hold on. Right, so that's, you can hit them together. That's basically C and G, or G and C, I should say. Move it up a half step, you hit them together. Sorry. All right, I gotta go. I got a lesson, and yeah, that. My apologies to your pinky. And you can just, again, you can do any sort of combination of the, or. All right, I got to go. Have a great one. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much for making my day. I hope I was able to help you on your guitar journey. See you next week. Thanks again. It was a heck of a lot of fun. Bye for now.